Hi everybody, my name is John Spain and I'm the owner of Main Art Hill in Kennebunk in Ogunquit. We're here today at the Spotlight Gallery at number 5 Chase Hill Road, where we have the distinct honor of viewing a live painting demonstration by my friend Margaret Gerding. Margaret, what are you going to do for us today?
I'm going to start a painting. We're going to see how long it gets in an hour, but it's going to give people an idea of what it looks like and how you get it to some point
beginning
of
process, the inception, deciding what to do,
what the process was. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm gonna yield the stage to Margaret, and I hope you all enjoy.
Okay. And we hope that you ask questions too. So, just to start with, one of my favorite places to paint is Goose Rocks, the marsh going into Goose Rocks Beach. There's the biggest painting in there, or one of the bigger paintings, is of this scene. So I figured I'd do it. So the other night I went over and took a couple photos. I don't usually work from photos, just so you know. Usually I do plein air painting and work from studies, but in the winter time when you're doing large paintings, you use photos as a reference. So every student that ever took a class from me is going to go, "You said we can't work from photos." Okay. Sorry. But I was going to set up something, and then I decided you needed to see more with what was going on in the show. So this is the photo I chose from the other night, which I'll use as a reference. Okay. As you can see, it's not a great photo. I print them out on paper. I do not care. However, I didn't love the sky right there, but across the street, this is the same exact moment. I went like this, and the sky is great. So I'm going to take my artistic license, and I'm going to use that ground with that sky. Okay? Having said that, I will then sketch, which I did while I was there. They're called thumbnails. And it's basically a compositional sketch. And in this, I usually try to do at least 4. And it's just seeing the placement and what I think works best. So that's exactly like the photo would have been. And then do I want to blow it up? Do I want to bring it down? Is it more about the sky? What's the story? I'm going to end up with this one because it really was about the little inlet. The sky was important, but I don't need more than that to tell the sky story. Does that make sense? Okay.
So, how long did that whole process?
5 minutes.
The question was, how long did that process take?
Now, when I tell people to go do that, it can take an hour. Those 4. So I'm going to say a couple things before I start. One is I paint extremely fast. It's not a blessing. It's not a curse. It's just the way it is. So the processing and the speed in getting there is fast. And it may be the 40-something years of painting, but I've always painted what seems fast compared to other painters. It's not take as long as you want. But I love, usually when I do that, or if I have students do it, it's interesting that it's always the 4th one that pushes you to find something a little different or clarify what you're doing.
In your case, the 4th thumbnail.
The 4th thumbnail, yes. And I could go over why each of them works and each of them doesn't work, but we're not having a class on composition. So let's just say that's what I chose. So to start with, I will use a 70-cent chip brush and kind of lay down the big form. I'm going to stick that there so I can see it on where it is and to place it. I usually will pick a random color. First and foremost, the canvases are usually primed with 3 coats of gesso and then a very light coat. This happens to be yellow, but I will use whatever is left over on my palette for a color underneath. I used to strictly stick with warm because I do landscapes, but now I just use up my old paint, and sometimes I look at it like a challenge. So if there's a funny aqua, how do I make that work as an undertone? But it's never usually a white canvas. I use paint thinner only to get the initial down, and I will use some obscure color, and 9 times out of 10, it is purple because it's my favorite color. So I'm going to reference this for just a second just to get it down. And you'll see what I'm trying to do is go back and forth and find the big shapes where I want it to be. That is why we put that there, John.
Yes. I thank you for thinking of that. I paid for that.
Well, it would just evaporate. It's dirt, but
The paint not so much.
no. Okay, and then I want that. So basically, I'm putting down shapes and tone, trying to figure out directions, where things are landing in space. Do I like them? What's off? Believe it or not, that is how painting usually starts, that loose. And then I usually take a beat and look and say what's off. And I can tell you right now that this is off. This should be higher. If you can see in the sketch, that goes past probably a third. And right here, that's too low, right? So I'm going to bring that up and make the little triangle here. And that puts this in the right position. And then we have these lovely rags for erasing. Okay.
Is this the setup you use in the field?
Yes. This is the setup I'm for those who've seen.
In a marsh one day, and it was purple. Okay, to begin with, there's no purple. And how is this going to turn green? But the painting was so gorgeous, we wound up buying it. It's hanging over our.
That's a good story.
That's how we first met Margaret.
Yes. Yeah.
And here we are.
Well, I've had so many people when I'm out plein air painting, and I usually try to find secluded spots, but occasionally somebody will walk by and they're doing their little hike or something, they'll go, and then keep walking, and then they'll walk back and go, whoa, that's not what I thought that was going to be, because I walked by and I was like, what is she doing? Why does she think she deserves to be out here? So, here's the thing I will tell you never to do is use the same brush, but I do it all the time. Because most people will create mud. So in plein air painting, as you layer, there's a theory that you can only get 2 or 3 layers of paint before you start to pick up the paint. For a plein air painter, you have to learn or innately be able to get the right tackiness or velocity of the paint, be able to put the paint on top of another color without picking up the other paint that's on there already. So that's one of the harder things to learn about plein air painting, and don't ask me why, but it came innately.
So, Margaret, do
And
you
it's oil.
paint thin so that you can do that?
So you always paint thin to thick
Okay.
in oil anyways, to avoid crackle and things. But yes, it's thin to thick, but it's more about the pressure.
Okay.
How lightly you put it on top of the surface to pick up the next. Once you pick up the paint that's on there, you start to make mud on your brush. Also, a lot of painters should be switching brushes in between. They shouldn't be using a purple to make a green, but that's what it is. Yeah.
2 or 3 layers in plein air.
Yes.
But is that specifically to plein air or alla prima in general?
Alla prima in general. But at oil painting, I work in my studio, can have 10, 20 layers in places, like thin layers to get some depth to it. So there's a different feel to it.
It's not drying as quickly?
Well, because I let it dry in between. So I can do 3 layers, set it aside, next week take it out and put 3 more layers because I have 10 going at the same time. But so right away, I want to make sure I start, not completely, but start to indicate what colors you want your color palette to start showing up. I just want to get this down and then I can put the picture away. Okay. Feel free to ask any question you want while I'm putting down paint, I'm also dealing with tone. You want to make, this is a big distance. I want to make sure it's receding. So your darker comes forward. And I don't want to go too far before getting some of the sky indicated. I keep a fairly, I realize I'm probably in the back of there, but a fairly limited palette. They're probably 20. It's not ultra limited, but they're pretty consistent.
Those paints are out of a tube?
These paints are out of a tube. The thing I tend to have a lot of are blues and purples, because again, purple is a hard color to mix. So I don't want to forget that that's blue. I don't want to forget that the blue is going to reflect down here in the water. And I want to start thinking about the real dark edges of these. So these are your edges of your marsh.
Those darks are equally as dark as the foreground?
Yeah,
that still
close.
helps you.
That still helps you go back.
Yep.
I'm using also the direction of this to help you go back. So that's a perspective thing. I don't want to forget these have white. Hi. I don't want to lose the warmth in the white of the clouds either. And you're going to see that I'm going to take some liberty in the clouds. I'm going to use that as a reference only, not as a, this is exactly what they have to look like. So again, that's starting to change the shapes just a little. All right, now one of the important colors in that clouds, which was the beautiful blue down by the horizon. So again, I never want to get too far before I'm missing a piece. I never want to not be working the whole canvas. So in doing that, I also realized that this tree line is quite larger than it should be. So I'm going to bring it down a little. Again, working in that direction was important. People are so quiet.
We're all fascinated.
Okay, I'm just indicating some shadow. We're all fascinated. Okay, very important thing is to keep stepping back. For me to keep going, is it going in the right direction? So now that would be a very abstract version, which is not how I paint.
I could sell that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you
I
could.
maintain that.
But does it have the things I'm looking for? Is the viewer have multiple places it can join into the painting from all the different edges? Can I travel along? Do I want to be here? Are the colors working together, even on a sub level? I mean, the trees aren't going to be purple, but there'll be spots of purple showing through. Is the tone right? Is it making the painting recede? So there's all those things that come into play, and this is your checking point right now. Now we get rid of the chip brush. It's so sad. That's my favorite part.
So my eye. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is your approach unique? Because often I hear artists talk about starting in the foreground and drawing the
Yeah.
eye into kind of one
There are the focal point.
pinnacle.
Yeah, there's always a focal point, a place your eye will land. But I think I wouldn't call it unique, my approach. What I would say is that I know a lot of artists do two things. They either use a pencil or brush and lay down perfectly where everything is, and almost like I don't want to say paint by number because that belittles what they're doing, but I can't think of another reference that it would be, but kind of like that. They use that as a guide. There are artists that grid it all out. There are artists that work from top to bottom. I know artists that project the photo onto the canvas. I mean, and I'm very old fashioned. I like the authenticity of putting it together. For me, I also think because I feel like I could get so tight, it's easier to take a loose painting and correct and tighten it up than it is to start tight. You'll find artists that start tight have a real tough time ever moving anything because, I painted it so nicely. Like it's all done, and now it would work better over here. So if I can keep it this loose, and again, you saw me move that up. It wasn't in the right place. So if I can move it that loose and not feel precious about it, it's a good thing for me. I think I'm going to end up with a better painting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Margaret, I find my eye travels in sort of a zigzag
Yes.
off into the distance. Is that a compositional
Yes.
design? That's
Yes.
part of, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I want you to enter. I want you to feel like you can walk into this marsh.
Mm-hmm. My eye is traveling.
Yeah. So now, after I painted all that, I'm going to wipe a little off, and only because it is so thick in places that it will get muddy. Also because, and you will see, with the underlay, I'm going to start bringing out some of the light spots so I know where they are. So instead of painting it and adding paint, I have this beautiful yellow under there that I can use to bring out some of my sunspots. So that makes sense to everyone?
Yeah.
The glimmer.
The glimmer. Bring out the glimmer. Right. So where are those? Where is the light hitting?
And does that work better because it's yellow?
It doesn't matter.
Anyway,
The yellow brings a nice warmth to it, but as long as it's lighter, it helps. Because remember, I have a nice warm green on here, so it's going to feel warm. It helps me just figure out where I am. I don't love this shape, and I'm trying to figure out why, because this is too high. So this does that. That makes me feel better. So again, great time to figure out why something's not working. That was too close to the edge. It was bothering me. Hello. Sun's coming from here. You can tell by the shadow side, which means this side gets hit. Which means this is going to be the lightest spot because that's our sun side.
is there a reason you're using black rice?
Because all my clothes are black. So all my painting clothes are black. When they get to a point where it's really bad, I just rip them up. And the reason my painting clothes are black is so that there is no reflection of a color. When you're outside plein air painting, if you have an orange shirt on, it will reflect onto the painting and it'll change. You also want your canvas always in shade. You want more, for me, it's almost as important, not more, but that my palette is in shade. A lot of people, not a lot of people, but there are also times you'll see it's like this, or a lot of times if I can't get it in shade, I bring these down as low and it's almost vertical, the palette. And then you have to deal with dripping. Okay, let's get this. This is a other beautiful thing about this rag is I can now use it to start to define these trees, which I pretty much know by heart. So people always say to me that there isn't this indent in the trees at Goose Rocks Beach, and I said I always go, I know there's a house there, but I don't want to put it in. So you have that right. And the indent works nice.
What size canvas do you paint outside?
I will go up to a 40 by 40 inch outside. I used to paint the really big ones outside, but then I got stuck in the marsh once. And I had to make a choice. Do I take all my painting and my easel, or do I take the painting? So it was tough. The water came in. So that kind of ended that. Logistically, it wasn't. I took my painting. I can replace, which is awful, so don't publicize that. Because I left my bag with paints in the marsh, which is awful. I know, but environmentally, it's terrible. Okay. All right. Don't want to lose that dark thing because that is an edge of a marsh. All right. Also, don't want to lose the highlight on the tree.
Little motorcycle parade going by.
And really, that's just an indicator to help. Everything is just at this point still an indicator to me as reminding myself, where's the light coming from before I put it someplace that isn't right? Where's the light coming from? What am I doing? The other thing I try to do is get some of the warm colors in the marsh because I like when they show up in the underpainting coming through the green, which John will understand. So there's this beautiful, I don't want to call it rust, burnt sienna that shows up in underpainting and you've all seen it on the edge for me. So I try to get that in a little bit so I don't lose that because it just adds an interest in color, not so much in tone or shape, but just that'll be nice to have in there as an interest in a little bit of color. So it's getting messier again, which is good because I'm just adding more elements. Again, don't want to work something too much before you haven't worked the whole thing. So I want to go to the sky a little, make sure I got that shape right, which I'm going to reference here for a minute. So this comes down. This is probably where I put the painting on the thickest, so I'm going to get rid of a lot of that.
Have you ever worked in pastel?
Yes, I have.
Is it a similar process for you?
I find pastel very drawing for me, even though I smudge a lot in the whole thing, but I love pastel. I was doing big pastels. I don't like the health thing of pastels.
The health?
The health. It's a bad health respiratory thing. Yeah.
Breathing it in.
Yeah. I don't like oil pastels, so I would prefer I like the chalk, and it's a.
When you did do pastel, did you always do it underpainting?
No, no, no. I'd start with color paper, but never. I never did a.
The question was, when she did pastel, did she always do an underpainting?
Sorry.
No.
That's okay. Those are great. These are good questions. Keep them coming. All right. So now I'm gonna get to the shape. The other thing is, I used to only, or my favorite brush go-to was a Filbert's, and now I use an angle brush mostly. And I don't know when I switched or why I switched, but all of a sudden I noticed 99% of my brushes are angle brushes.
What is the benefit of an angle brush?
Maybe this is why. So you can get a beautiful line, which you can't. Filbert tends to have a softer edge. This will allow you that, and also it's a straighter edge. Look, that added a nice shape, John. All right. All right. So I'm going to take away that, and believe it or not, this is not, see how blue it looks on the brush, and up here it looks green? Or maybe that's my eye. I just want to play a little with color and make sure that I'm not. All these colors and shapes could end up not being even in the finish what you think is the painting, but every color you add, every shape you add, and every layer you're adding to the depth of the piece. And even if just a little tiny piece shows up in it, it'll add to the painting. All right. So now I feel like I have a lot more color in there, a little bit more variance. I'm going to start clarifying what I want of the color. I tend to stay pretty realistic with colors, with pops of maybe a purple or a color that's not there. I'll change it if it, for example, if it's spring, and the people who are from around here, like the marsh stays very muddy all the way to June, like gray muddy. So I will make it sage in the middle of March or whatever, just because I don't care for the realistic color. But mainly I think I stay pretty close.
When you talk about painting for like a time and then putting it aside to dry for a few days.
Yep.
When you're in plein air, you go out and you paint one spot, you come home, you go back to that same spot. No? You finish it at home then. No?
Plein airs are finished outside.
Okay. But you go back, continue to go back
Nope.
to the, oh.
They're one session.
Oh, it's one
They're a
session.
one-time gig for me.
Oh.
If it doesn't work,
It doesn't-
if it doesn't work that day, they get
That's
wiped
why-
off. Yes.
that's why the type-
There are a couple people here that go plein air painting with me, and they will attest to how many paintings I do and how many I wipe off, and say, "Nope, that's good. Okay, that was fun. Not happening again."
Margaret,
Yeah.
your paintings are expansive, meaning that they don't look the way the human eye would see them. do you see the painting like that when you look at?
I
look
must, because
outside?
I think it's exactly the way it looks.
What I mean is that
Yeah.
they make you feel small because the
Oh,
paintings are so.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Do you
That's
see
the way
that,
I
or
think
you?
I feel in nature.
Yeah.
But I do see what you're saying. It feels like, I think because
The wide.
there's a vastness to it.
The
Is
va-
that,
exactly.
yeah, the vastness to it. But I do think that's the way I feel nature feels to me. I feel like it's huge. And I'm out there alone and it feels so much bigger than me. But I don't also at the same point want it to be inviting. I still want you to want to go there. It's not scary, huge or vast. But I do see what you're saying. And the big sky helps with that, making it feel vast, I think. Is that what you?
What I mean, for example, if you were to take a picture of what you see with a camera on,
Mm-hmm.
would the camera capture the same thing that you see in your painting, or?
Is that the same? I would tell you that the camera is not capturing half of what your naked eye can see if you really trained your eye. It's no matter how good that, I mean, and they're beautiful photographs, so don't get me wrong, I can appreciate the artistry of photography. But studying and being out there and seeing every blade of grass and training your eye to see those nuances is huge. So yes, I don't think the camera can capture that. And then you hope to capture that atmosphere of that vastness and that whole thing. Does that help?
We talked about earlier how one of the paintings in particular there, the cloud is almost like the road with you.
Yeah.
Daniel Corey says hi, by the way.
Oh, hi. It's another plein air painter. All right, I'm going to add a little, believe it or not, purple back in here because I want to, you also lose color I guess you lose color along with tone a little as it goes away, as it goes in distance. So I want to neutralize a little of these greens that are back here. See how that receded that? Okay, I'm getting too caught up in that. Let's get some of the definition.
Exactly.
You what?
What did you just do exactly?
I added this green right here,
Uh-huh.
a neutral green, so that it receded a little. Bye, purple. Don't paint with your fingers either. So this may be a beautiful place to keep the purple. We've all seen those tree lines in the back that have a beautiful, probably not this magenta, but a purple to them. And I will have to bring the tone difference there a little, otherwise you won't see that. And I pretend you can see the tone over here, even though you can't, because there's a house there. All right, so I'm going to bring that tone of that blue of the sky down a little so that I can see that tree line. So every time you do something, something else reacts to it. And it's kind of like you just keep going. Whoa. So we didn't like that because it was green. So again, the sun's over here, so this blue will not be as bright a blue. This is also a point where I will start poking out little tree holes. They might not end up being where they are, but it gets me start interacting the trees with the sky. And I want it a little more intense over here. How's it coming? So this is the same color as here, and notice the difference, the way they two look. Can't talk now. John, you made me talk too much today.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna purple that up a little. I like it better anyways. And then bring a little of it over here just to make sure it connects.
Magic.
Magic. Everybody see the forms starting to come together? I still have not ever lost what I had to lay down with that first brush of purple. Hopefully I've never lost it. Hopefully now it's just a clarifying, cleaning it up, and continuing as it goes.
I noticed most of your brushes are all similar size, right?
They are for this size canvas. If I had a bigger canvas, I'd go above this size.
But they'd all be similar.
They would all be similar. Yes, they would all be similar. If I had a huge like the big canvases in there, a lot of those are painted with the chip brush until I need to get more defined. Whatever this is.
One wash for every color, or you just use them as that color?
Well, this is the second brush I've used in this size once I stop the chip brush. But again, we don't tell people that. Right, Ray? Right. You should be using a different one for every color.
Oh, you're an expert.
I know somebody who holds 5 brushes.
Oh, I do that. By the end of, oh no, I don't do that. But so if I'm out painting, I only usually if I have a smaller painting, but by the end of a painting day, this is what my hand looks like. Like, I feel like, what's his name? Scissorhand. You know? Usually I look like this.
Margaret paintbrush hands.
Margaret paintbrush hands. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. There's a lot of logistics, and I have changed the way my setup has looked over the decades of painting. I used to use the pochade box, on the thing. I don't like that anymore. I used to carry the big Julian easel. That's too heavy. My pack's heavy enough. And I like to go in sometimes and hike in, so I want to be able to. These are all like MacGyver. I made the palette so that I could make it as big as I could. It could fold and go into my backpack. And it's literally just Luan and a piece of plexiglass. It's nothing earth shattering, but it made a nice table to put the stuff on, and it is a big enough palette that I can work with. Keeping your turpentine in a flask. Really safe way to carry turpentine. Does not leak. Learn that. I used to carry it in a glass bottle. Not smart. So a lot of little things like that. This little thing, again, Michael's, I think it's $1.99. I've been using this for 10 years. But the paints will stay for a couple days in it because it has the cover.
Do you stick them in the freezer or anything like that?
Nope. 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 Nothing. I am also a firm believer in big globs of paint. I hate the little tiny things. I want to be able to stick my whole brush in there. I also want to be able to go out and paint 4 paintings if I need to and not have to worry about carrying tubes of paint. Learned that along the way. Don't carry the tubes of paint. They're so heavy. I will say the easel is very heavy. It's about 7 pounds when it's folded up, which is a lot when you're adding it to your pack already with everything else. The other helpful hint I always tell you is wire the canvas before you go out, because then you bungee it to the wire and you don't have to worry about the coastal winds. Because I can't tell you how many canvases have gone flat. This easel, the Glossier easel, I've never had one fall over. It doesn't fall over. It's built with a big enough, they can go out wider. It's built with a big enough stand, but the painting will come flying like a sail. And umbrella is huge, and hat, and all the other things as a plein air painter you need to do. I do not carry the chair. I'm going to tell you a funny story. If my nephew sees this, he's going to kill me. But he is also an artist. And he said, I'll meet you in Wells one day. We can go painting in the marsh. I'm like, that's great. And he's a big guy. He's 6, 4 or 5. Anyway, so he comes out with his stuff and he marches back, and he comes back with an ironing board into the marsh. And I'm like, what is going on? He goes, well, I was thinking of a table, and then I thought, I need it higher, and I need a big surface, and so, and he opened it up and put it up and said all this stuff. I'm like, that's really smart. Although he looked ridiculous walking through the marsh with an ironing board. So do whatever works for you. Do whatever tools you work. I've had a $300 brush. It doesn't make any difference on how good my painting comes out, so I buy cheap brushes. And again, I'm pretty good. These brushes are probably 6 months old. If I can't get them to be supple and still look like their brush color, not covered in paint, then they cut the mustard. But I feel better about throwing away a $10 brush than a $300 brush, because I'm really not that good at cleaning. So,
Do you have a favorite brand of brush?
yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Whatever is cheapest.
Oh.
I couldn't. These are called Golden Maple. I think I got them at Amazon. And the chip brushes you can get at any hardware store. They come in different sizes. I don't mind the Princeton brushes, but again, not saying that to go. I'm not endorsing them, because there are people that like having a good brush and like the way it moves and like the feel of it. That's fine. I just haven't found a difference for me on how much I spend on a brush as to whether or not I like the tool.
Use oil as a medium?
No. So the only thing I use is a turpentine to start. I barely, again, I won't usually dip after I get to a certain point. It's just strictly the oil paint. And the oil paint, the basic paints are Winton, which is a student brand of Winsor Newton, and I've used them since college. And the reason my basic palette, my CADs, my ultramarines are that, one, for cost, but secondly, because they're less toxic. Because they have more filler, they're less toxic. Then I will get the beautiful purples and the secondary, tertiary colors. I will splurge on and get a Williamsburg or a Old Holland, or an expensive paint. I will spend $50 on a tube this big if it's the right color. But
what
again,
color is that purple that you like?
What?
What color is that purple that you like?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had the two, but I don't. It's an Old Holland though, and it's this beautiful purple.
Yeah.
It's the only one about that shade. So if you go to Old Holland, you can find that out. So that being said, there are certain paints I buy by certain company, but again, it's what you want to do, like what works for you, because it changes. What I'm using today, besides the basics, I would have never used 20 years ago. I would have never used these brushes 20 years ago. So, as far as surfaces, I usually only buy Masterpiece Professional, or ampersand if I'm doing the birch panels. I believe if people pay good money for a painting, they shouldn't have a warped canvas.
As a gallerist, I appreciate that.
Thank you. So, how are we doing on time?
You got 15
I have
more
15
minutes.
minutes. I can
Paint away.
keep going. All
Keep
right.
going.
Sorry to go sidetrack there on
Your
logistics.
contract says 1 hour. You're only
Okay.
46 minutes in.
All right. I hear you. Got it.
He's a taskmaster.
That's okay. All right, I'm going to go back to the clouds then, because that I feel like I've spent the least amount of time on. And since my show has a lot to do with clouds, let's look at them for a second. I just want to get some nice shapes down. And the light. Remember, the light's coming from over there. I'm going to add a little warmth to that. A little more yellow. See how that plays off of that? Much nicer than this. This starts to look chalky. Just by adding a little yellow. Absolutely. I prefer the morning or even evening to midday is horrible to paint in.
But for reasons of time and singular canvas out there, I mean, so you prefer to start in the morning into the afternoon, or?
I prefer to start at 5 in the morning and work until noon
Okay.
and be done. No, not always. Sometimes I'll get up and go to. I'm up anyways, so sometimes I'll go out in the morning, or late evening. I go to the late evening, especially to this marsh a lot, just because it has the long shadows. The sun sets right behind this scene, so it's beautiful, and it's literally a mile from my house.
Sorry if this was covered earlier.
That's okay.
What percentage do you do the painting plein air, as opposed to anything you might change once you return home?
I very rarely change anything if I go home, other than wipe the canvas off.
So is it a single day and a single outing for painting?
It's a single couple hours.
That day itself.
Yeah, that day is a single. Yeah, I don't go back another day and continue it. So, I think like doing a 40 by 40, I might go back and tweak it in the studio, just because of the size.
The volume,
yeah, but normally it's done. And normally I don't do a painting that big outside. If I do a plein air event or something, sometimes I will, but I don't usually carry the big ones outside anymore. Because you don't want to see what I look like when I have that backpack on the easel that canvas my food.
Food. Huh?
Food. Believe me, I don't go without food. Yes.
Ever have any wildlife encounters?
I have. That's a great question. I have had the company of a pregnant moose for 3 hours. I was painting, this is going back a while, but I was painting in the marsh, and the river was probably where you were to where I was. And a moose came from the other side, walked in, and I swear she was pregnant, but walked in, low tide, stood there, like where you are, and I was painting, and I was like, okay. And so I continued to paint. And the tide came in, went up to her belly, tide went out, she left. 3 hours. Like it was great.
Did she ask any questions?
No, she did not. It's pretty funny. I had a lovely time when my daughter was a little child, because you have those great dreams of like, this will be great. I'll just bring my kid painting with me. She's fine. So I set her up on a little blanket. She was like 1. Set her up on a little blanket. She's fine. She loves the outdoor. And I'm painting. I keep checking on her by the Sudbury River in Concord, Mass. And I turn around and she's literally playing with a muskrat. I was like, you don't get to go outside anymore. So things like that.
Is your daughter still with us today?
She is. She's not fond of rats, though.
Likes riding moose.
That one she didn't get. So
certain temperature that you don't paint under.
I do not paint below freezing or
And then
around freezing. The paint starts to do really freaky things. It starts to
January,
crystallize, actually.
January, February, you're inside.
Well, no, I still go out if it's above freezing,
Okay.
but not as much. So much more studio time during the cold months, and
So from photographs then.
yeah, photographs or sketches that I've done, and in reference. And I will say that I've probably held that more than I normally would. I would say you saw how much I looked at the photo. Not a lot. It's strictly a reference. I've also painted a lot of these places a lot, so I know what it was between this. I may actually even do a color sketch to hold for the winter, just so I can remember what it was, that if it was a color that attracted me rather than a composition.
So your palette doesn't really change much from day to day. You keep the same paints
Nope.
in your.
Yep. It's the same paints. It changes from year to year, or not year to year, but occasionally there will be one added, one taken out. And every time I paint, I put these 3 reds, and they never get used. But I know that every professor and teacher I ever said would yell at me if I didn't have my CAD reds on there. And I don't know. I have an affinity to magenta instead of those. I'm not a CAD person, but anyways,
But I have what red paint.
you do. You're right. You do. Occasionally, one will happen. You have a good one too, and I do like magenta. Okay, in case you're wondering where those swoopy, nice whites come in.
Wow.
I think all the swooping you're doing and all the brush marks to the right, to the left, or up, give it so much power and light,
Thank you.
instead of being so careful.
Yep. Ray is one of the people that goes out painting with me, and she goes, just stop, don't do any more. Yes, she is an abstract artist, so let's see how green that is. That's pretty green. This is looking too close together for me. So I just want to add a little more cerulean in the actual sky, just for fun. So you can see that I just go back and forth, keep playing, keep looking, keep tweaking, and eventually it turns into a painting. That's too dark. Constantly have to think, like, that's not the same color, is it over there? Even though it's the same sky, but it's got to be lighter because the sun's over here. That's a cloud, that's the sky. See how just adding that separated now from what the blue cloud was to the blue sky? While I have a few minutes, I just want to start clearing this up because I haven't really talked about the water much. So you will see, and you've all seen it in a marsh or waterway, this. Let me that element, right? That reflection between where the line, where the water hits the, well, where the water hits the grass. There's a reflection. There's a reflective line. Makes it sit. Yeah. Hello. Why did I think this was a triangle? It's always the push and pull between the forms, the negative and the positive space. They correct each other. So that water is going to help define the edge of that.
And you shifted the water color a little bit
I
there.
did. Because I wasn't feeling as vibrant as it should, for lack of a better word. Remember, this is shadow, so. In reality, I would probably even emphasize the darkness in this. I'm going to show you just for more about tone than color right now, but this would end up getting a lot darker down here. Do you see what happens? It would end up getting a lot tonally darker down here. Do you see what happens when I darken that? How it helps you force that. So again, tweaking happens all the time.
You paint outside at home?
No. And I should, because it's beautiful, but you know what? I'm saving it for when I can't walk. I really am. I have the marsh comes through in the backyard and the long grass, and I have this beautiful backyard against the wildlife. And people ask me all the time, why don't you just paint out back? I'm like, I'm saving it for the day I can't get in the car and move. Because I can just plop my easel out there and paint.
You heard it here. Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. There you go. It will be painted someday. Are we at an hour? Okay.
I'll tell you when your contract is fulfilled.
Okay, good to know. All right, let's talk about blades of grass. How about that?
Yes.
Okay. Blades of grass. So this is the beauty of these brushes, for me anyway. Some people prefer to have a very long, 3-hair brush. I have seen people take their hair or a reed and dip it in the paint and then put it depends how, or any tool. I like these brushes for the fact that I can get them super, super thin, and if I want to do blades, I can. Now, I tend to keep going over them because I don't want them to be that defined. But what you're seeing is how I would put the foreground grass in, because you never see this in the back. It's too far. That being said, we can add other colors. Gives it a little more depth. You'll see that even as I do this, having that orange underneath is going to be kind of neat where it's left. Oh, it's 3 o'clock.
There you go, Margaret.
Oh, man, I just got going again.
You can keep painting if you want, but now you've fulfilled your obligation.
Okay, now that's good. You get the idea. So, there you go.
We'll sign off of Instagram.
I'm not going to.
So 1 hour. I know you're not, and I appreciate that. That's 1 hour and about 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for
You're
doing
welcome.
this for us today.
Thank you. It was
Everybody,
fun.
Margaret Gerding. Margaret Gerding's Spotlight will continue through this coming Friday. Today is August 15th, and the Spotlight Gallery on Main Art Hill is open every day from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. We'll proudly display her spotlight through the entire week, and the paintings are selling rapidly.
Yeah.
You had a good first day.
I did.
I thank you so much for being part of this today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Main Art Hill in Kennebunk, Maine.